Hello, Ben Bierce here with Revelation Cellular Forensics. Cell phone evidence is fragile. Most cell phone companies only keep their records for a limited time, and the evidence stored in the memory of the phone can be deleted intentionally by the user or automatically through normal processes during the normal operation of a phone. We need to identify potential evidence valuable to our case as early as possible and take the proper steps to preserve it. But how do we find out if there were phones present at the incident? And then, how do we identify the phones and the phone numbers? We could review the crash report, or we could interview witnesses, law enforcement, or emergency responders present at the scene. Probably the fastest and most efficient way to identify potential cell phone evidence is through interrogatories. This post will cover 10 cell phone related interrogatory questions with a bonus question at the end. Number 1, was the subject using the phone at the time of the incident? This could be phone calls, text messages, videos, listening to music, navigation, looking at documents, email. There could be many things that a user could be doing with a phone at the time of an incident. Some of these activities require active input by the user, but some of them are passive. In a motor vehicle crash, active use implies distraction by the driver. Passive usage might give us some insight into what was going on the phone when compared to the data section of the phone records. If the subject denies using the phone at the time of the crash and also denies using passive activities like listening to music or navigation, but we find data activity on the phone records, this might suggest that the subject is not telling the truth. Question number 2. List all mobile devices that were present at the time of the incident. This can include cell phones, tablets, GPS devices, music players, drones, game devices, and Bluetooth devices. We'd also like to know if there were smartwatches present or if the vehicle that was in the crash had an infotainment system. This includes devices belonging to the subject and any passengers in the car at the time of the incident. We would like to know all the devices present at the time of the incident. More than likely, there was at least one cell phone present at the time of the incident, but many people have more than one cell phone. From my experience as a police detective, I know that most drug dealers have more than one phone. They have one phone to conduct their business and the other phone to contact their family and friends. This is common among law-abiding people as well. Many people have one personal phone and then another phone provided by their employer. Also, other people present at the time of the incident will likely have cell phones that have valuable information about our case. In addition to phones, there may have been other mobile devices present at the incident. This could include tablets, game devices, music players, or even drones. For example, an over-the-road truck driver would likely have his or her iPad in the truck for use when he or she is not driving. It's possible that the driver was using the iPad at the time of the crash. Another example would be drone video. The drone operator might not be related to the incident, but may have been taking video around the scene of the incident at the time. A common defense in motor vehicle crashes is that the driver was using a hands-free Bluetooth device at the time of the crash. Obtaining that device may help confirm whether or not it was being used. Smartwatches are also valuable. A driver may not have been using his or her cell phone at the time of the incident, but he or she may have been using his or her smartwatch at the time of the incident. Some smartwatches can connect directly to the cellular data network and work independently of the cell phone. Question number 3. Who are the owners of all the devices present at the incident other than those owned by the subject? And please provide contact information for those people. Some of the devices present at the incident scene may belong to other people, and the subject may not have possession of these devices, or the subject may not be able to provide consent for examination of these devices. The subject can provide contact information to help us get in touch with the owners of these other devices so that we can obtain the devices and obtain consent to examine these devices. Number 4, what are the phone numbers and the carriers for all cell phones present during the incident? Also, what are the International Mobile Equipment Identifiers, IMEI, Mobile Equipment Identifiers, MEID, and International Mobile Subscriber Identifiers, IMSI, for all devices other than cell phones that have independent access to the Internet? Many devices other than cell phones can have independent access to the mobile data network. Tablets are the most obvious example. Cell phone companies offer plans for these mobile devices other than cell phones so that they can access the Internet. Other devices, like smartwatches, can have plans like this too. We can send subpoenas to the carrier for logs for these devices. We just replace the phone number with the MEID, IMEI, or IMSI. The records we receive will be similar to the call detail records we receive for a phone. They just won't have any text or voice information. With some carriers, we may be able to obtain cell site locations as well. Number 5, is the subject still in possession of all the devices? If not, which devices does the subject still possess? And when and how did the subject dispose of each device? And where are the devices now? We would like to know if the subject still has each of the devices. And if not, we'd like to know where those devices went. If the subject recently traded in his phone for a new phone, we may be able to obtain the old phone from the store. Other possibilities are the device was broken, thrown away, or sold on eBay. This information should save us time in knowing which devices aren't worth pursuing. Question number 6. Are the devices still in use by the subject? And if not, why did the subject stop using them, and is someone else using them? And if someone else is using them, please provide contact information for that person. If the subject is still using the device many months or years after the incident, the likelihood of recovering information from the device is pretty slim. Of course, it will depend on the type of device, the level of usage of the device, and whether or not the evidence we're looking for has been deleted. The best scenario would be that the subject got a new phone shortly after the incident and put the old one away in a closet or drawer. There are some people who never get rid of their old phones for fear that someone might get the data off them. So there's a chance this scenario will happen. If the subject is not using the phone anymore, we'd like to know why. Was the phone broken? It might work in our favor if the phone was broken shortly after the incident. There wouldn't be much time to eradicate the evidence, and we could send the broken phone to a lab for the data recovery. If the subject got a new phone and gave the old working phone to a child who put his or her profile on the phone, the chances of recovering information from the incident are almost non-existent. Number 7, what is the condition of the devices? If the phone is in working order, the expert should not have a problem in extracting the data. If the phone is damaged to the point it won't work, it can either be repaired or sent to a lab for data extraction. Number 8, has the phone been restored to factory defaults since the incident? If the phone has been factory reset since the incident, recovering any information deleted before the factory reset is almost non-existent. All iPhones and most higher-end Androids are encrypted by default. Your expert can bypass the encryption by using the password. If the phone was factory reset, anything deleted prior to the reset will be decrypted under a different encryption key and won't be accessible to your expert. Number 9, if the subject has a new phone, was the data transferred from the old phone? If the new phone was restored from the data from the old phone, the likelihood of recovering information goes up. I used to have an iPhone 6. About a year ago or so, I got an iPhone 10. When I got the new phone, I backed up the iPhone 6 to the iCloud. Then I logged in my iPhone 10 with my iCloud profile and downloaded all the information from the cloud. Most of the information from my old phone appeared on my new phone to include text messages that hadn't been deleted. Android phones can be restored from a backup or the cloud as well. Number 10. Has the subject sent any communication regarding the incident through his or her cell phone? This includes text messages, emails, social media posts, etc. Sometimes a subject will send the digital equivalent of an excited utterance using his or her cell phone. The subject may send a text message to a friend or loved one suggesting that he or she was at fault. Or the subject may post something to social media expressing regret for his or her actions. And our bonus question. Did anyone else have access to the device at the time of the incident? A common defense is that someone else was using the phone. If the driver was alone in a car, obviously this won't work. But if there was a passenger in the car, we want to lock the subject into whether or not that passenger had access to the phone. If someone else did have access, it's important to know how that person had access. Did the other person have the passcode to get into the phone? Or did the driver unlock the phone for the passenger? These questions will help us identify the devices and phone numbers so that we can send preservation requests. I recommend that we do this as early as possible. We need to move fast to preserve the evidence that we want. The more time that passes between the incident and the preservation or examination, the more likely this information will be lost. This list of questions is not all-inclusive. This includes questions that I, as an examiner, would like to know. I'm not an attorney, and some of these questions may not be appropriate in some jurisdictions or some cases. I hope you found these questions valuable. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call or shoot me an email. You can contact me through my website, revforensics.com. Thank you, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.